Thought I'd return to something that happened 8 years ago. From the 1st of the 5th month of 1434, revisiting the experience of the Samhain 2010 ECK worship service of the 2010, formerly 29th of the 11th month of 1431, 3rd and 4th solar hour experience of a group viewing of an Eckankar talk. I would like to open with the fact that in this context, Ek means God. Specifically, it refers to God as somehow knowable. That is a way of interpreting a goal of an ECK worship service. They put them as all capitals, ECK, for some reason, and I have described that as any odd corporate kinesis. So that's another way to think of ECK. That is to have experiences of this creator that we worship. Reading the Eckankar books is quite the experience in itself. It is much like reading a combination of fantasy, rhetoric, and theology, yet it is interesting in itself. That being said, the experience of listening to the audio programs, Hugh, A Love Song to God, and Shariat Ki Sugmad, Book 1, was better. The entertainment of Eckankar is greater in their films. Likewise, I found that joining a local gathering of Eckists to chant Hugh to be a deeper set of experiences. Eckist is a specific type of spiritualist. What I did not expect was that seeing the video from October 22nd to 24th, worldwide seminar, as a group, would be even more intense. Now, this wasn't my first viewing of a worldwide show, I don't think, but... or maybe it was. I actually don't remember seeing one of the shows in a group before that. I arrived at the place of meeting at 9:58, the Sunday morning of November 7th, 2010. 2 minutes later, we were called to attention and joined in saying, Hugh, about 30 seconds, a tenth of the usual. Sri Harold Klemp was in a light blue suit, as he usually wears for one of his... as he usually wears one for his preaching. What day of the worldwide seminar this happened was unknown to me. However, the subject was the year of the teacher. Their year always starts on October 22nd, a month past the autumnal equinox. The talk was entitled Teacher and Student. I sat comfortably to scry towards the screen, gazing with the eyes open. Almost all of the Eckankar films are good for such gazing. They are also structured in a way fitting for the type of people who had memorized the speeches of their spiritual leaders. He acknowledged that he may not fit what people would expect of a prophet or even a spiritual leader, except in the fact that he has a lot of aimless talk. I do so agree. He went on to talk of the interaction with the archbishop-like people in his hierarchy, called Risas. Regional servants, agents, something like that. Then came the main part of the talk. These were 3 stories. As this sort of triple storytelling is commonplace with this so-called Mahanta wayshower. One of these stories was of a person he gave a guise pronounced as Bahari, which is Swahili for seaman, something vast, ocean. I guess this is appropriate in the face of the fact that the ocean of love and mercy is an Eckankar name for the realms, or the highest realm. On the day when many in the Northern Hemisphere believed that the spirit realms were more open, it makes sense for a good coincidence to hear as a name of a character on the first day of Samhain. The interpretation of the story matched in with that, except the particular nature of cyclical sacred time. The story had a mention of an African man who, as a child, experienced the hue as being the sound behind all other sounds he knew. The variation was probably the Arabic pronoun for it, which is who, or formally who. All of the claims of Eckankar, the idea of the possibility for the common man to experience the presence of God anywhere, rings most true. Of all the claims of Eckankar, the idea of the possibility for the common man to experience the presence of God anywhere rings most true. For this and other such reasons, I will continue to be a part of this group as long as I can express a certain amount of ideas in their meetings, and am not pressured to do things like picture their real and imagined leaders during prayer. The talk ended about 10:58 a.m., with me still feeling like I was floating with electrolysis gel all around me. Like usual, I won't bother you with the details of the psychedelics of my experience. I will say that the flows of feeling and sight lasted for most of the time. Several varieties of phosphenes abounded as well. Shortly into the speech, a shadowy but colorful jinn appeared with an otherworldly presence around the framed photo of Harold Klemp that was placed to the right of the computer screen we viewed the film on. There it remained in a space of about 2 feet across until at least 10:25 a.m., when I no longer could testify of its presence. Before the table the computer between the two frames was placed on came another mighty presence. This fire being felt like a crowd as it walked eastward from the spot of its appearance. Several feet. This happened 5 times in the aforementioned time slot, but starting a little later. Whether it was the same being of average human height or a different one each time, I could not tell. This repeated until after 10:30 Pacific Standard Time. In much the same manner, 8 times. Then I felt that day's greatest presence of a fallen angel, as jinn, fallen angel, fire being, and fire being are the same category of creation that day. The greatest presence of a fallen angel that day. It was behind me at least 10 feet each time. I looked and saw nothing more than the psychedelics that filled the rest of the room. This happened thrice. As the talk grew towards the close, I saw an asura, I'm throwing out different terms for jinn, behind and against this alleged Eckmaster in dark blue of the Devas realm. Davas is vested for the Samskrita Asura, which is the same as the fire beings. Its form was taller in the neck and head region, in the shape like a stubby pencil. Its form also protruded at the shoulders as taller and sharper shoulders. I don't know if it was just a being that decided to hang out in the room, or if there actually was that phenomenon at the conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This remained till the end of the video, where a joke was made by Harold. During this period of at least 2 minutes, something similar happened to what happened before the table, this time in the same spot. In the same space, I felt the same thing happen 13 times without seeing it. Or if it was, likewise, I could not tell if it was the same being as the other 13 times, or if it was 26 different beings. There always seems to be something non-human, other than God, present at the Eckankar meetings. The fellowship that followed lasted till around 11:50 a.m. And it seems that birds have drawn near as I've been sharing this with you, but I have some to continue. I'm less than half done here. Eckankar Collected Works by Paul Twitchell speaks of a Venusian race called Eshwar Kaniwali, or God-Eaters. He tells how these attach themselves to the living Eckmaster, and they absorb cosmic energies instead of food. What is said about this class of jinn is that they are as spiritual vampires, feeding upon those who practice or believe in the misassociation with God found in Eckankar. That is what I think the beings were. Fire being, jinn, asura, devas, divs, and fallen angel all refer to the same class of creation. How often I have holy or metaphysical experiences differs. How often I have psychedelic experiences is more consistent, but varies too. Since 2008, I've had less metaphysical experience. Those happenings occur more often during the more sacred times of year, particularly the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Based on reviews in my diaries, I seem to have more metaphysical experiences when there are people that can benefit, at least momentarily, by sharing with me later, or be affected by the lessons. Awareness of my own souls, our spirits, occurs monthly, or even daily. I gain a distinct awareness of another metaphysical being as much as an average of twice a month. My psychedelic experience seems to fit somewhat with the schedule too. I don't recall anything of that sort beyond a presence or psychedelic event in over a year and a half. Such is not necessarily linked to any particular worship or purification process according to my memory or record. Some events have seen a more common occurrence. To explain the reasons for the movement I witnessed, I would say they noticed something occur and were attracted to it. My worship is only for God. I do not invoke or evoke by default the presence By default, the present are, but one probably knows what I mean. Others. I don't invoke or evoke others. There is no need. I think the Eshwar Kaniwali may be what the Hopi prophesy of as much as 2,000 years ago, saying about the blue Kachina coming to the generation before the alignment of 2012. I may not agree with the idea of feeding them, but I'm not afraid to witness what can occur with certain groups. The law of attraction and repulsion influence all beings. Some intent to be present for a reason outside that, though. Some intend to be present for a reason outside that, though. It should be clear enough what Eckankar believes, at least from other programs I've done, if you don't know otherwise. If an interpretation can be derived, I would think of a group projection. Their current leader has the inner name of Wazi, or just plain Z. Z is the 26th English letter. They may have been referring to him somehow. The first Sunday of a month in 2006, some entities spoke of a warning about how he was not what I think as an image of Harold Klemp's head was thrown out of a yellow box that was only there for a minute. That box may be a reference to how Harold J. Klemp is, in many ways, not within orthodoxy or correct beliefs, and orthopraxy are correct actions. That's actually a phrase those are actually phrases that appear in the discourses and writings as orthodox religion and orthoprax religion, that sort of thing. But he was a Lutheran minister. He would have known what those words meant in that context. I'll divide my recent commentary of the 2010 ECK Worldwide Seminar, teacher and student, should be divided according to the chapter listing in the video. Opening and welcome to the 2010 ECK Worldwide Seminar starts with and includes the cheering Harold Klemp likes to receive for his alleged work for God. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not his work is for God, but I'll give you information to make an informed decision. The year in Eckankar starts every October 22nd at midnight, where you are at. By midnight, not midnight, 12 o'clock. Daylight savings time, when the actual center of the night is, that Eckankar is more modern like that. They don't think of, anyways. He called October 22nd, 2010 through October 21st, 2011, the year of the teacher. He mentioned how things were particularly bad in the economy that year and thanked people for coming. He admitted that he would say things one has heard before, but assumes the listener will find it worth it. Of course, what is an official public talk of a Mahanta, the living Eckmaster, over Eckankar, without plugging at least that year's Eckankar journal, just available for sale? The Jnani, which is like the mental development sort of term, but they tell stories. It's a faith-sharing thing. Creativity, God's gift to us, has Harold Klemp admitting he isn't everything people think a spiritual master should be in terms of dignity, ability, appearance, or all talking having ultimate purpose. One should be open to the lessons of what God has for us and calling us to express. That should be true even in difficulty. There was a worker at the Hilton who knew the prior ECK year was the year of creativity. A ECKist, or spiritual guest, was asked if she had been creative that year. She said yes, and mentioning it was now the year the teacher, practicing themed time periods, can bring more of those themes out in life. The love that you carry mentioned how too much spirituality or divine love can throw one off balance. I think that is just being silly. I believe it is what brings one into balance. But Eckankar is a path that devalues material life as necessary illusion. The goal of Ek, our spiritual teachings, is to bring in more in a balanced way. Sound and Silence mentions how HJK did translations of Russian communications while in the service. He was well aware in that line of work how light and sound and the imbalance of them can overwhelm. Silence or blankness are of importance in life. There are sounds of a psychedelic nature or interpretation, too. Some sounds are even holy. Eckankar indoctrinates its followers to think hearing music of God, music of a universe, sound of whirlpool, music of woodwinds, 1,000 violins, deep humming, heavy wind, single note of flute, buzzing of bees, running water, tinkle of bells, and the roar of the surf. To think they are hearing the music of God and, the rest of the list. And I would say that you have chant, you have word, and you have thunder. And remember, sound of whirlpool, you also have hue as the sound of the 10th plane, or 11th in number. The roar of the surf. Yeah. As being in that particular sort of the descending realms in Paul Twitchell's and Doran Gross's teachings, going outwards, Harold Klemp tells that there are thunder. Oh, earthquake, not thunder, earthquake at the top. Going outwards, Harold Klemp tells that they are thunder, roar of the sea, tinkling bells, running water, buzzing bees, single note of flute, wind, humming sound, 1,000 violins, music of woodwinds, and hue. Going from the highest realm to the lowest, all three heads of Eckankar taught that the colors of the realms are white, yellows, purple, violet, blue, orange, pink, and green. One may also say that the outermost heaven is black. The teachings are that the leader of Eckankar personally chooses these experiences for you. But psychologists would say that these psychedelics are of one's body. A Sims protection on the road tells of a man driving in Barbados, singing hue. It is pronounced hue, and it means divine it in the Eckankar lingo. It says a love song to God. His car just died before a fallen light pole that he didn't even notice until his car stalled. He got it running again. He got it running again, and carefully drove around it. He thanked Harold Clamp because of how he saw the situation could have been. God protected him in a way, but not the leader of Eckankar. The X schedule tells of how we, even Harold Clamp, may make plans that don't go according to plan. God's plan is always done in the time and place Providence determines. Bahari hears the master's knock, tells of how Bahari would hear a sound before he would sleep that he didn't know of a source of in his surrounding. He knew of no meaning for it. He would latch on to the meaning he heard for this in Eckankar. Sometimes it was like hue, or sometimes it was a variety of sounds. Once he woke in the middle of the night to such a sound, and looking around, he ended up catching a pot that was on the stove for hours from catching fire. After he joined Eckankar, he had another experience that led to notice another fire. The neighbor woman was saved from that fire. Harold Clamp takes credit for these things by telling he is every person's inner and outer master. Only the outer master does things physically possible, which the outer master being very limited, unable to write his own works for the most part because of his condition that seems to be brought on upon by his diet that he can't control. But the belief is that he's omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent as God's representative. These are qualities that your typical person would not attribute to God, or at least not practically attribute to God. I mean, many do, but Christianity certainly limits God, and for Harold Clamp to be more powerful than the Christian idea of God, it's, he looks kind of different when he says this, kind of guilty, but, again, it's for you to decide whether or not this is really, whether he's really speaking the truth about this. Joyce's daughter and the beautiful smile tells of a mother calling her daughter retarded, when such words are used literally and not as an insult. Who are we to criticize these upon political correctness? We should allow freedom. Her daughter had pneumonia and poison in her blood. In the peak of her daughter's illness, the mother saw the imaginary Eckmaster, Rebazar Tarz, with his hand on the daughter's head. She broke down and cried in gratitude. Her daughter was so much more affectionate and loving when she returned home. Now, I mean, there's no known physical existence to Rebazar Tarz. But I guess there could be spiritual beings that attach to such either egregores or, you know, such hopes for them, actually. Love, relationship, and wisdom talks of the gift, tells of the gift, tells of the give to get law of love. Okay, I tried to correct myself mid-sentence. I'm sorry for that. I was right the first time. Even in dispute, we should remember the other. One may not know what the other's will mean by the same words. They may not know what you mean either. I, in particular, need to work with developing my social wisdom. And since I'm not omnipresent, you may have to wait to see what I do and where I do it for my channel. And I'm not omniscient, so I'm going to have to learn some stuff. I may have to use notes and props to remind me of things. I'm not all powerful, so I would like these things to come across better and more exact and all that. And I like to produce more material, but I'm limited in that too, and I'm fine with that. Reminding you to go ek yourself. Baraka Bashad. May the blessings be.